Hey there, this is Mr. Alexander, and today I want to talk to you about simplifying rational expressions, which is just a whole bunch of factoring and canceling out. That's basically the two things we're going to do today. We're going to factor, then we're going to cancel some things out to simplify rational expressions. Now, what makes this a rational expression is there are two polynomials here. There's one on the top of the fraction, one on the bottom. Whenever you've got a polynomial divided by a different polynomial, that's technically a rational expression. So let's talk about how to simplify these things. So we've got an x plus 2 up there. There's not much we're going to be able to do. I'm just going to keep that on the top of the fraction. And on the bottom here, we've got x squared minus 4. Now, we can factor that because this is the difference of two squares, x squared minus 4. This is a perfect square because it's x times x. This is a perfect square, the 4 is, because it's 2 times 2, and they are separated by a minus sign. So whenever that happens, I can factor this like so. I can put an x plus, an x minus. I got the x from the square root of x squared. Now I'm going to take the square root of 4, and that's going to go right here. X plus 2, x minus 2. Now, hopefully you'll notice that on the top of the fraction we've got an x plus 2, and on the bottom of the fraction we've got an x plus 2. And I can go ahead and cancel these because down here these are separated by a multiplication sign. If this was plus or minus, I wouldn't be able to cancel anything out. But since it is separated by a multiplication sign, I can cancel out the top and the bottom. So the last step here is to rewrite after I factor and cancel. On the bottom, what am I left with? An x minus 2. And what's left on the top? Well, even though you can't see it, there's a 1 up there. Because this is 1 times x plus 2 up there. And that's it. That's how we do it. We just factor, we cancel. That's the simplified expression. So let's look at part B on the notes here. X to the 5th minus 9x cubed divided by x squared minus 9. Well, this is a rational expression as well. On the top, we can take out the greatest common factor, right? So the greatest common factor between x to the 5th and negative 9x cubed, well, I hope you see it is x cubed. So I'm going to factor out an x cubed there. And in parentheses, I'm going to write whatever's left over. All right, so I had x to the 5th, that's 5 x's, and I took 3 out. Remaining is x squared. And then I took x cubed, out of negative 9x cubed, so that all that's left is that negative 9. And on the bottom here, I've still got x squared minus 9. Now, this is the difference of two squares. I could factor this as x plus 3, x minus 3, and I could factor this as x plus 3, x minus 3. But we can go ahead and skip that step, because I can see pretty clearly that I've got an x squared minus 9 on top, x squared minus 9 on the bottom. I can cancel these. And the reason I can do that is because there's a multiplication sign right there. This is just one term on the top and one term on the bottom. If this was a plus sign, you can't cancel. If this is minus sign, you can't cancel. Because it's multiplication, go ahead and cancel that out. And all that's left to do is rewrite. Now, I've got nothing on the bottom of the fraction but a 1. Anything divided by 1 is just itself. So this expression simplifies to x cubed. That's it. Let's talk about part C. 2x minus x squared, all divided by x squared minus x minus 2. We're going to need to factor the top and the bottom on this one. Let's start with the top. And let's take out the greatest common factor here. I've got a 2x minus x squared. The factor that they share in common is just an x. And what's left when I take an x out of 2x? Well, there's a 2. There's still a minus sign. And I had an x squared. And I took one of those x's out, so I'm left with 1x. I need to factor the bottom as well. And I am looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 2, but add to negative 1. So two numbers that multiply to negative 2 but add to negative 1. This is the way I like to think about it. I'm going to think of all the factors of negative 2. So I can make negative 1 times positive 2, or positive 1 times negative 2. And I'm going to look at these factors, and which one adds to negative 1? Well, that's this one right here. So I've got an x plus 1 and an x minus 2. So this thing's factored. Now, you might feel inclined to cancel these two out, but you can't do that. This 2 minus x is different than this x minus 2. But we can rewrite this one above here slightly differently to make it look like an x minus 2. And here's how you're going to do that. I want to write down a little trick for you, just something to keep note of. Just in general, and I'm going to write it on the side here, a minus b is equal to negative 1 times b minus a. That's in parentheses right there. So if I factor out a negative 1 here, it's going to help me out. Here's what I mean. I want to do x times, factor out the negative 1 on the top. And that leaves me with negative 2 plus x. And I've still got x plus 1, x minus 2. Well, this is addition now. And you can write addition in any order you want. So it says negative 2 plus x, but that's actually the same as x minus 2. Negative 2 plus x is the same thing as x minus 2. So now I can cancel these out, now that I factored out that negative 1. So all that's left here is we need to rewrite what's left. So negative 1 times x is negative x. And what's left on the bottom there? Just an x plus 1. This is the simplified expression. So that one was a little bit harder because you had to realize that these two are different. But if you factor out the negative 1 and then rewrite the top, you'll be in good shape from there. Let's talk about part D here. It looks bad, but it's actually not, because we're just doing simple factoring on the top and on the bottom. So I'm going to write my fraction here. And on the top, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 3, but add to negative 2. So let's think of the factors of negative 3. Let's see, that would be negative 1 times 3 or positive 1 times negative 3. Which one adds to negative 2? Well, that's this one right here. So these are the two factors I should use on the top, x plus 1, x minus 3. And same thing on the bottom here. We need two numbers that multiply to positive 4, but add to positive 5. So if I think of the factors of positive 4, that's 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. Which one adds to 5? That's this one. So on the bottom here, I'm going to factor this as x plus 1 times, times x plus 4. And so hopefully you see that on the top and the bottom there's an x plus 1 that cancels out. And that leaves us with x minus 3 divided by x plus 4. And that's the simplified expression there. Let's do one more. Part E here. And it's more factoring. So we're going to factor the top and the bottom again. Let's start with the bottom. Two numbers that multiply to 16 but add to negative 8. So let's think of the factors of 16 over here. That's 1 and 16, but I'm looking for a negative 8, so I know that they're both negative. Negative 2 and negative 8, negative 4 and negative 4. Those are all the factors. Which one adds to negative 8? Well, that's this one right here. So now I know the bottom is x minus 4 times x minus 4. Now the top. The top has a number in front of it, in front of the x squared, I mean, that's greater than 1. So I like to use the box to factor these ones here. So I want to factor, I'm going to do it over here. I'm going to factor 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. I'm going to write the 2x squared right here in the top left-hand corner of the box. I'm going to write the minus 4 down here. And the other parts of the box, that negative 7x, well, to get that, I'm going to do a times c, 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8. And I'm going to think of all the factors of negative 8. So we've got negative 1 times 8, 1 times negative 8. We've got, what else do we have? We've got negative 2 and 4, or positive 2 and negative 4. Any others? No, I think that's all of them. And we're looking for the one that adds to negative 7x. So negative 7 would be this one, 1 and negative 8. So in this box, I'm going to write a 1x, and in this box, I'm going to write a negative 8x. And then I just need to ask myself 4 questions. What do 2x squared and negative 8x have in common? Well, they share a 2x. And what do 1x and negative 4 have in common? Well, they share a factor of positive 1. How about over here? What does 2x squared and x have in common? That's just an x. And how about negative 8x and negative 4? Well, they share a negative 4. So here are my 2 factors on the top and on the side of the box. I've got my 2x plus 1 and my x minus 4. So it looks like, based on that, I can cancel out these x minus 4s, because these are both separated by multiplication. And what's left is 2x plus 1 all over x minus 4. So that's it. That is how you simplify rational expressions. Remember, there's only 2 things you need to do. You need a factor, then you need to cancel. And thank you for watching.